Hi, I'm Mr. Miyagi, and this is Mr. Miyagi's workshop. Well, today we're going to talk about carburetors, and especially these. We're going to break them down and clean them. Now, these are a set of the BS 38 millimeters. Now, you may have a set of BS 34s, but it's basically the same thing for cleaning both of them. We're going to break it down, and I'm going to show you how I do it. Now, you may do it differently, but this is how I do it. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, when you're working on these and taking them apart, these are the manifolds off of the engine. One of the things I've noticed, and you can see right here, is that the vacuum plug was all cracked. Now, that'll allow extra air in here, and you'll get a popping or run lean. And both of these, this is kind of a funky looking one here too. This is what they bought at the auto parts store, but you can also see that it's cracked, and that'll suck air. Now, I have new ones which are basically designed for these carburetors. You get them out here. Note the difference. They're a heavier duty, and they last a lot longer, and they do a better job. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at your manifolds. Okay, the basic thing I like to do is I like to lay out a towel, or as this is, I guess this was an old shower mat that my wife let me have. And what I'll end up doing is I'll take it, and this is the way I'm looking at it. That is the front of the engine. This is the back of the engine. So that's how I set my carburetors up. We're going to take the tops off, and all I'm doing is I'm pulling the screws and setting those in an area right over here out of the way so you don't lose them. Now, sometimes these will stick down. You just have to tap them a little bit, and they'll come right off. Pull your spring out. These units, the slides, will come right up out of there. And you kind of want to look at what's going on here. There's a little bit of carbon built up on there. Might have been running a tad bit rich. You can definitely tell that these have been worked on, because it's not a Phillips, and it's a super long screw. Now, I'll probably replace all of these. I may go back with an Allen head. I haven't made up my mind. I do have some extra one of these screws from another build that I have, and spare parts. Another thing that you want to look at too when you're pulling these out, these little diaphragms, if you hold them up into the light to see if there's any holes in them. Now that I've got those basic parts laid out there, we're going to go and remove the choke rod. Now, this thing just slides out. Now, you got to be aware sometimes on these older ones that there'll literally be a ball bearing inside here that is part of the detent. This one actually uses a plate on the outside, so we're going to go ahead and take that off too. And then this rod will slip out between these. Now, what's happening here, there's actually these little detents in here, and these screws they'll be able, when they screw in there, they tighten down and they actually go into those grooves, those little detents. So now you've got it separated at this point. Kind of just want to do an inspection on these, just get a good look on it. Now I like to switch to the bottom because it makes it a little easier with all this other stuff off. You'll need a 10mm wrench. Now inside here is where the main jets are at. You want to make sure that you got a carburetor, the screwdriver will fit down in there. that won't mar those threads on the inside. And it is sometimes easier to loosen these up beforehand, before taking them off. So now we're going to pull off the bowls, carburetor bowls. Here again, we're placing all the parts that we're taking off from that carburetor in their own little spot. A little tap, come up off there. So also you want to look at to see what jet that they're running. Another important tool is the magnifying glass. I'll have to do a little bit more cleaning on that. Maybe the other one will give up its secrets. According to the chart, this should have a 135 main jet. Now another one that we need to pull out is the intermediate, which is located right here in the bowl. And that one looks like I can read. And that's a 27.5. So we'll put our jets together, our bowls together. Now we need to remove these pins. These floats look really good. Gasket's not bad, but we got new gaskets and everything for this. Needle valve is pretty good, but I believe we have new ones, and that is a 10 millimeter again. Alrighty, so at this stage, the enricher side I like to take off too, or your choke, I guess, if you want to call it that. Basically what this does, it allows more fuel to flow in so that you have an easier start. And you want to look at these little rubber bases on here to make sure they're not wore out. I've had them in the past have a slight little tear in there, and the bike ran rich, which was a difficult one to figure out until I took these out and saw that it was letting fuel bypass through there, and the bike was running super rich on one carb. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the connecting bar off. So we're going to go through and loosen these up. One thing I found, and you can use them everywhere, I found this little ratchet, this little kit that I got, but using a P3 tip works really well, and it's got the little grabs on there that really help hook into these so you don't strip those screws out. There. Now you have this little connecting tube between for the fuel, and you want to back these springs off of here. Now you should be able to just pull this apart. This is also the connector for the throttle right here, which rides in between this, and then when we get ready to put this back together again, I'll show you how to adjust that. All right, so we're going to pull the enricher off of this side too. Sometimes it's easier just to loosen this stuff up while it's on. So here again, we're looking at the base of that, see if there's anything that indicates that there's wear in there. Take our final screw out. That one there. Gasket off. That one there. We're going to replace those gaskets. We have a kit. Another thing I like to do is I like to remove these other plugs so that when you get to the point of being able to blow this out, you seem to be adjusted way down. I've got a feeling that there was not a proper adjustment on these. It's a little screw that goes up in, or a spring, excuse me, that fits up in there. Well, I'll get to that here in a second. So pretty much this is where I strip it down to, this unit here, down to this stage. And let's look at the other one here. Go ahead and pull adjustment off of this one too while we're at it. These were kind of frozen position there. Gives me a feeling that these carbs haven't been cleaned for quite some time. Basically, these are at the stage to be cleaned. Now, you can use carburetor cleaner, spray type carburetor cleaner, or what I prefer, I spent the big bucks and I have the actual dip that these soak in. You put your units in. It comes with a little basket that you can put all your components into, and then just follow the instructions. Be sure and wear gloves and glasses for this, safety glasses. But this has a little basket that you can literally drop the component into, lower it down, and let it sit there. Now I have 2 buckets of this because just the way I am. So I can do two of these at a time. So here again, you're just placing the unit inside, lowering it, letting it submerge. So that's it for right now. We're going to let this all sit, and then we'll go through the rest of what components, because I'm going to end up having to soak these bowls, and we'll clean everything, and then I'll put it back together again for you. Well, I've finished up cleaning the carburetors. They look pretty good. I've gone through. I actually used this is what I used. It's just a carburetor dip. Left them in there for approximately 20 minutes, and then cleaned them up with hot water, and then sprayed them off with my air hose. Went in and did it. And then actually went in a few other places and sprayed. Normally what you're going to do on here is that you want to spray in all of these orifices everywhere, even in the front. You want to make sure that these front air pilot jets are open and everything, because that helps the bowl breathe. Just go through and blow everything out, even on your little bowls and stuff. You should go through there and clean it out. There's not a lot that needs to be cleaned out. This little unit down through here, let me show you here real quick like. What that does is that picks up this tube right here, a breather for the rest of the system. So yeah, just kind of go through it. One thing I did find when I was going through this is that the main jet on the left-hand side and the main jet on the right-hand side were 2 different sizes of jet. This one had a 140 on the right-hand side. This one had a 135. It had the other style. It had the 70. I was trying to remember what it is. I'm going to look up real quick, like here. The 74, 75 main pilot jet, or what I call the intermediate, is a different style than what I'm putting in. I'm putting in the 1976 through 79 style pilot jet in there, which let me see if I can get one out and I can show you the difference in them. I don't know if you can make that out, but there's squirt holes and everything. And this is a solid style. There are none of those holes in it. So it changes it a little bit. I think somebody's gone in here and changed stuff around. I don't know for sure, but we're going to put in the newer style pilot jets and everything. So let's get to it. So one of the main things that you want to do is you want to set up everything. So this kit that I got, it comes with a gasket. It comes with the new needle jet and housing, which is really kind of nice that it's a combo unit here. You get everything in it. So that just screws right back into place. Comes with the seal, the bottom washer on it. Tighten those down. I'm going to do these both at the same time. Snug those down. So next on here is that we're going to end up putting the floats on. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure these. I have my little gauge here. So what you want to do is you want to go from the base, this area right here, or where the bowl would bolt up to measure that. And wow, these weren't adjusted. The height on those should be 24 plus millimeters. So let me get my, neither one of these were adjusted properly. Let's see what they were. Let me grab this other one. We'll measure this to see how much these were off. Okay, we're just measuring to the top of those. Wow, these were set at 30 millimeters. This is where they should have been set at, and that's where they were set at. So to adjust those, take a little screwdriver, very carefully bend that tab, and then that'll raise it. So what was happening there, it was running pretty lean, which is remarkable that it ran as well as it did. I'm going to double check this. I'm setting them at 24 millimeters. So basically we're taking that tab and bending it up a little bit. Now you don't want to measure these with this gasket in place, because it'll change everything. So this is plus or minus 24 millimeters, and this would definitely affect the way it would run because it wouldn't have enough fuel. Okay, so the floats are set where they should be. Now the rest of this can be put back together again. Put on a new gasket, and what we're going to end up doing is putting in a new pilot jet that drops into there. All right, we're going to move to the enrichener. Now what's nice about this unit, this comes complete. It has a new plunger, a new spring, and a new seal. So we'll put this all back together again. That all just kind of slides in there. And one thing you want to do too is you want to look down there on that seat down inside there. You can't really make that out. But you also want to make sure that that's not scarred up. I've seen those in the past scarred, and here again what they will do is allow more fuel in, which you don't want. So put our gasket on, and make sure you've cleaned all these surfaces and everything. 3 screws that go in there. Now we're at this, we can actually put in the jet too over the main jet. And we're going to put in this 135. I may have to go up, down on that. I'm not sure yet. Also on these needles in here, you want to make sure you can take these apart. There's a little snap ring. You pull everything apart and make sure that you put everything back exactly the way you found it. I usually start off with this little clip in the center there, on the center rung, or they call number 3. Now going down leans it out. If you put the clip above, put the clip down underneath, it'll raise it. Or you can use little shims to raise it up a half at each time. But that's all in the playing. If you've changed your exhaust, your air cleaners and everything else. You want to pay attention to that because you may have to go up or down in a direction on that. It's kind of nice these kits come with everything, pretty much everything you need. There we go. Now, things on there, we're going to drop this back down in there. And one thing you want to do, pay attention to, there's a little lip on this diaphragm that sits in this little groove on the top piece here, and just work that down in there nice and easy. Take your spring, put it inside there, it goes down. Now we're only going to put in a couple of screws on this one. What that'll do is that'll hold this cap in place while you're messing with everything else. Okay, at this time we're going to also put the bottom drain plug for the bowl in with the new sealing washer. Okay. Now, to sink these in, this has to be put in place there. So before you get too excited here, you want to shove that up, set these together, and remember your hose that went in between. You want to make sure that that gets fitted on. So that just pushes on there. And what this does is it allows the fuel to go between both carburetors. There. Put your little locks on, little clamps. You just pull them apart and then they spring back together again. Okay, now, and we want to make sure that we put the flat edge against the carbs. And this is just a stabilizing bar that holds everything together. All right, rock it over. And we'll put on our next piece. This ties everything together. Okay, one of the tests you want to do is you want to raise these inner plunge, put your finger across, and if it holds it, you got a good seal. Same here. Perfect. All right, so now what we need to do is we want to sink these in a little bit. A lot of you don't have vacuum gauges that you can attach to on your manifold to get an equal reading between to make sure that you've got your carbs synced. But I'm going to show you a little trick here, an easy way of doing it. So what I got here is a couple of pieces of welding rod. It's all I ever use. And you can insert these, open up your throttle, put one there, and put one on the other side. Now, you'll note that that's kind of slides real easy. So what we need to do is we need to adjust this so that drops. So you're just feeling that through there. So you got a little bit of a drag on there. And all you're doing is you're just taking those butterflies and adjusting them so that they're equal. And this is a quick and easy way of doing it if you don't have a vacuum gauge. So this we're going to install the enrichers, and they just slide on there. You work it through, and here again I like to put just a little bit of some sort of lubricant on that. Slide those in and then line them up with the screws. And make sure you find that little detent. Wiggle that a little bit. That snugs in. Same on this side. And this is what it basically does, is that it raises these enrichers so the fluid would go in here and into the carb. Now I'm going to put the little choke unit, as they consider what they call it, back on. So, and that, my friends, is a completed rebuild on the carbs. Pretty simple, not really a lot to it. You just want to pay attention to what you're doing. Well, I hope you've liked this episode on rebuilding the XS650 carburetor. Didn't I rebuild these? Nah, this is another set I got to go through. But if there's any comments or questions, you can put them in the comments section below, or you can send them to my email address at tmiyagi@hotmail.com. And if you've liked this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget that ringy-dingy button for the next update on what's coming out. So, this is Mr. Miyagi, hoping to see you guys on the road, and y'all be safe out there. So, ciao.